When you need a 7-day forecast for the week, he is there. When there's severe weather in our area, he is there. And when Hurricane Hugo hit the Charleston area in 1989, he was also there. For the past 25 years, Rob Fowler has been forecasting the weather for the Lowcountry on Channel 2. In this edition of Quintin Reports, I talk with the Wizard of Weather about his 25-year career at Channel 2, growing up in Atlanta, and his love for Chick-Fil-A. Well, I understand that, you've been a chief meteorologist here for 25 years.
Yeah. 25 years, got here in 1987.
Really? Well, tell me, how did you believe that you were going to stay here this long?
Well, to be honest with you, Quintin, I didn't think so. I came in 87, I signed a 4-year contract, and then 2 years into that 4-year contract, something happened that I think we'll always remember, and that was Hurricane Hugo. So after 2 years and then Hugo, and then I just felt like there was a lot of unfinished business. So after Hugo kind of came and went, the management here came to me and said, hey, we want you to continue to ride us through this storm, because as you well know, it wasn't over right that moment. It lingered for years and years and years. So they asked me if I'd stay a little bit longer, and I did. And 5 years became 6 years, 6 years became 10, 10, 15, and now we're talking about 25 years.
Yes. Well, people see you on television every night forecasting the weather. But when these lights dim, who is Rob Fowler?
Oh gosh, I'm a family man. I love my family. I have 2 kids who are in college at University of South Carolina.
Yes.
I have a 13-year-old, just turned 13-year-old as a matter of fact very recently. That's what keeps me going.
Yes.
My wonderful wife Cara has been my rock. I met her at a TV station in Green Bay, Wisconsin, so she understands the business. She knows why we have such long hours and what we do, and she's been great to have by my side this whole journey.
Speaking of Green Bay, what was it like being there?
It was cold.
Yes.
I was in Savannah, Georgia,
yes.
and I got a call one day from what we call a headhunter, and they said, a station is interested in you, and they wouldn't tell you what the station was or where it was. So finally they said, you'll be getting a phone call, and sure enough, I was getting ready for a show in Savannah. The phone rings. It's a guy in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He said, Rob, it's cold up here, but I guarantee you we're great people, we're a great station, and we want to fly you up. And they flew me up to Green Bay, and I fell in love with the city, I fell in love with the people, and I fell in love with the station. So being a Southern guy, it was a little different for me to go up to the cold, but I learned so much in the 2 years I was in Green Bay. But when this job came open here in Charleston, I was anxious to see if I could get a chance to move back down to the South.
And I read that you actually found out about this job in a newspaper ad.
Yeah, we have a magazine called Broadcasting. It's a periodical, a magazine that we have and in our business. And of course nowadays you go to the internet and there's a lot of different ways to look for a job. But back then you could go to the back of this magazine and they would have classifieds. And there was a classified, I remember reading it, beautiful coastal city in South Carolina looking for a chief meteorologist. And I thought, this is perfect for me. I know Charleston, I'd worked in Savannah, but I turned the magazine over, Quintin, and on the front it gave the date that it was issued, and it had already been issued like 2 months before. Wow. So I said, there's no way this job is still open. There's no way. But I thought, I'm going to give a call anyway. And I gave a call to the TV station down here, and the news director at the time, Mike Sullivan, said, hey Rob, I'm going on a cruise, send your tape and I'll take a look at it when I get back.
Yes.
Fortunately, the job was still open.
Wow.
And lucky enough, when he got back from the cruise, he looked at the tape, he called me and said, come on down, we want to take a look at you in person.
Wow. You have worked with several anchor teams over your 25 history.
Yes. Yeah.
But to me, it feels like you've had a special bond with Leslie Louse and Dan Ashley.
Well, we had a special bond because we were all together during Hugo. I
yes.
mean, Leslie and Terry Casey and Dan Ashley and Ted Knight and Bill Bear. That was our team at the time, and we still stay in contact today. Of course, Ted has passed on now, but we still stay in contact because we have this bond of going through Hugo together in a time where I think all of us were just shell-shocked exactly what happened, and in a time where we didn't have the internet, we didn't have texting, we didn't have all these things. The way to get the word out was via the television, the radio, and the newspaper.
Sure. Speaking of hurricanes, that's something you always worry about each year. Tell me, and I heard this, that you were fascinated by hurricanes because of Hurricane Betsy that actually hit your native New Orleans.
Absolutely. I was born in New Orleans. I lived there for 7 years, but my 5th year in New Orleans, 1965, I guess I just aged myself, was Hurricane Betsy. And that was, as a 5-year-old child, a memory I remember like it happened yesterday. And that job, my job that night that Betsy came in, was to put dry towels under the door so the water wouldn't come into our house.
Sure.
So how terrifying for a young 5-year-old. But for me, it was almost motivation to find out more. I wanted to know more about the weather, how it worked,
Yes.
tropical meteorology, hurricanes. And when Katrina hit in 2005, Quintin, it was kind of interesting because a lot of the commentators were associating the flooding that they expected for Katrina with what happened in Betsy. So those two connected in terms of the amount of flooding that both produced.
Yes. And obviously, we're in hurricane season right now. Do you believe that this will be an active hurricane season this year?
Well, so far we've done a few things we've never done before. We had 3 named storms before the beginning of hurricane season. That's only happened 2 other times.
Wow.
The last time, 1908. We just have Debbie. Debbie is the first time that we've had 4 storms before the month of July, the earliest that's ever happened. But having said that, you could read a lot into that and say, wow, it's probably going to be very active. But if you go back in the history books, you'll find out that those years that we did have pretty early start to the season
Yes.
didn't necessarily mean that it was going to be a very active year. For us, all it takes is one. We get caught up in the numbers, we're going to have this many storms and this many hurricanes, but if one storm hits you, and that's the only storm that year, as far as you're concerned, it was an active year. So we take every season very, very seriously, whether we have 1 storm or 20 storms. We know that we're likely or could see some activity each and every year.
Well, you know, the Postal Courier once said that you don't boggle viewers down with endless stats, but you give them a basic forecast with fun weather facts.
Right.
Would you say that that's why you've been voted Charleston's best weather forecaster for so many years?
I think so. I don't want to get hype up. I mean, I've been here long enough where people actually will tell me, we can see it in your eyes.
Yes.
We can look in your eyes. We can hear it in your voice, whether we need to really buckle down and take this seriously. We take it seriously, but I think if I'm excited and I exude some kind of anxiety through the television screen, then our viewers are going to feel that too.
Yes.
And I don't want them to feel that unless they absolutely need to and have to in terms of a threat like a Hugo.
Yes. Well, you know, Charleston also knows you for your great, outstanding community involvement, including Toys for Tots
Right.
and the Carolinas Children's Charity. How does it feel to give back to the community that you actually serve?
Well, when I came here, Quintin, I said this could be our home for a long time. Little did I know it would be.
Yeah.
But I said we're going to put down roots, and we're going to make this as pleasurable experience as possible for me, my family, and also hopefully the people that we serve every day. So I get a kick out of going talking to the kids. Toys for Tots has been amazing. When you actually go to a home where there is nothing under the Christmas tree and you deliver toys to a child, the kids aren't necessarily crying, they're happy.
Yeah.
The grandparents, the aunts, the moms, the dads, when
Those
you
are
see
the
the
ones.
tears running down their face, you know that the community has come through and it's done something very good, and I'm just happy to be a part of that.
Yes. 2005 was probably and is probably one of the best years in history.
Mm-hmm.
You came back with your family trip from Disney World.
Right.
And you found out what?
Well, I found out I had cancer. I didn't know right away, Quintin, but yeah, I had a trip to Disney World, was very healthy, thought I was healthy, went for a physical. The doctor checked everything out, and then he thought he felt a lump under my right arm. So he ordered a CAT scan, but he was still not very worried. He said, Rob, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be okay.
Sure.
So I go in, I have the CAT scan, and the radiologist comes out and says, Rob, I've got good news and bad news. The good news is there's nothing under your right arm.
Good.
The bad news is there's a lump on your left kidney. So because of that CAT scan, they found something that I didn't go in for that. I didn't have any symptoms. I felt fine. I thought I was fine.
Yeah.
And then just a few weeks later, I had my left kidney removed. Thank God.
Yes.
I hadn't spread, and took my left kidney out. That's my treatment, and I've been 7 years cancer-free now.
That is good to hear.
Thanks.
It really is.
Happy to be here. That's
Yes,
for sure.
God is great.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Well, let's go back down memory lane. You and I both worked in the old building.
Right, yeah. The old Quonset hut. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
What are your best memories of that?
You know, it was a time that all the folks working in our building now, you can't explain to them because they see this beautiful new facility that's now, believe it or not, 10 years old. But, when we moved in here, it was like going to heaven.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
For us, we'd gone from a building that was falling apart, but it had its own little charm.
Yes, it did.
there were certain things about it that you just can't, unless you worked in it, you can't explain.
Yeah.
And you worked and I worked, and it was just home.
Yeah.
I didn't look at the outside, I didn't look at the inside. It was our place of work. I just went and did my job.
Yes.
But I remember we hosted a lot of tours and did even in the old building, and the parents would come in and they kind of look around and say, "Oh, is this it?" Now they come in this beautiful building and they're like, "Wow!"
Yes.
But we still did it, and we maintained. I'm glad when we moved out of that building, but darn if it wasn't here after Hugo. We thought Hugo would blow it off the map, but it was still standing strong.
You know, I hear that you have a love for Chick-Fil-A.
Who told you that?
What is it about Chick-Fil-A that you like?
You know, I grew up after we left New Orleans, I really grew up in Atlanta.
Yes.
And Atlanta is where Chick-fil-A was founded. So I worked in a mall, sold Kenny shoes, by the
Really?
way, when I was a teenager. And in every mall, just about, there was a Chick-fil-A. So when you're working and you're trying to get a lunch break, there's nowhere else to go.
Wow.
And but Chick-fil-A. So I've just always fallen in love with Chick-fil-A. And now the guys in Mount Pleasant, I don't even have to order. They know exactly. I order the same thing, number one with a Diet Coke every single time. I go about 3 or 4 times a week, and they know me by name. Not because of doing the weather,
Right.
just because I'm a regular customer
Wow.
at Chick-fil-A.
That is awesome. You know, you shaved your mustache.
I
a couple
did.
years ago.
I did.
Tell me this. Do you miss it at all?
No, not at all. Don't miss it at all. And shaving the mustache actually corresponded with the cancer.
Okay.
And I think the Cancer Society came to me and asked me if we could do something to raise some money. And I said, sure, you know. And they said, what about shaving the mustache?
Yes.
And I said, you know what? I've thought about it for a while. Let's do it.
Yes.
So we raised quite a bit of money shaving the mustache. I don't miss it at all.
Oh, good.
I know a lot of the viewers do, and I apologize.
Yeah, I miss it too.
Yeah, I know. It was kind of a persona that I had, you know, but
Yes.
but losing the mustache was kind of like symbolic to me about losing the cancer.
Yeah.
And
Letting
so,
go some things.
Yeah, and letting go. But what's interesting is there's a local group of guys, a band, that named their band Fowler's Mustache. So the mustache lives on in a band here in the Charleston area called Fowler's Mustache. So
Wow.
I'm very proud of those guys, and I appreciate them taking just a little bit of me and letting it live on, if you will.
Yes. Where did the name Wizard of Weather come from?
Oh, that was our general manager, Bill Evans.
Yes.
When I got here, he wanted something to kind of set me apart from some of the other guys. Of course, Charlie Hall
Yes.
was here. Bill Walsh was over at Channel 4 at the
Right.
time. So he said, you know, they've already had their niche. Bill had already been here a while, and of course, Charlie had been here quite a long time.
Sure.
So he said, you know, how about this? So we asked weather questions every day, and our viewers would send in their response, and if they got it right, we would send them a Wizard of Weather T-shirt.
Wow.
So that's how it all started. Bill.
Do you still own a pair?
I think I still do have a T-shirt that says Wizard of Weather. It's old and probably has holes in it, but yeah, we use that moniker every now and then, but not as much as we used to.
You know, as you were talking about Charlie Hall, when you think of him, what comes to mind?
I'll tell you a story about Charlie Hall, and I'll
Okay.
never forget this. When my wife and I just moved to town, we went to a yogurt shop in Mount Pleasant, and Charlie was in there.
Wow.
And it was a hot day. I remember that day. It was very, very hot. It was during the summer. And of course, we were going to get something to cool down.
Sure.
And he saw me coming, and he reached out. He opened the door. He was inside. He was
Wow.
coming out. He made sure he opened the door, and we sat there in the doorway. And he just said, "Rob, you know, welcome to town." And that made me feel really good.
Yes.
And so I always appreciate Charlie for welcoming me to town, even though we were competitors and
Yes.
working at different stations. You know, for him, all that aside, he just, you know, he made me feel very welcome here in this town.
Is it true that you once considered becoming a doctor, just like your father?
Yeah. Well, my dad was a doctor. Of course, unfortunately, he passed away of cancer too when he was very young. And but yeah, doctor is something I thought about. Loved baseball. Wanted to be a pro baseball player, Quintin, but I stopped growing and everybody else kept growing.
Wow.
But I'm so happy to be doing what I'm doing. I've always had an interest in broadcasting and weather, and sports is a second love of mine. So I'm doing something that I've always wanted to do, and I think that goes a long way.
Describe to me the following in one word: weather.
Weather. Here in Charleston, changing. It changes, and that's what I like about it. A lot of people say, "What do you like most about your job?" And I
Yes.
think what I like most about this job is it changes every day. Every day when I walk in these four walls, there's something else, another challenge facing me. Nothing wrong with where you do the same job every day,
Sure.
same thing every day, but for me, every day is different. Every day is new, every day is a different adventure. So I think change in terms of describing the weather would be the best way for me to kind of interpret how I do and what I do and why I do it.
One word to describe Georgia.
Hot? No. Hot Atlanta.
There you go.
That was, that's really where I grew up.
Yes.
So I have very fond memories of Georgia.
Yes.
That was my childhood for the most part. So, one word I'd say memories,
Okay.
and good memories. Probably
Yes.
2 words that I remember Georgia to be a cool place to grow up, and Atlanta being a very cool place to grow up as well.
One word to describe the Gamecocks.
Oh gosh. Well, how can I describe the Gamecocks? Obsession.
Yes.
Obsession.
I know.
I wasn't a Gamecock. I was a Georgia Southern Eagle, but I grew up a Georgia Bulldog fan growing up in Atlanta. 2 sisters who went to Auburn, so I was surrounded by Auburn Tigers all the time. My brother went to Georgia Tech, so I was surrounded by that.
Yellow Jackets.
Yellow Jackets. But I'll tell you what, when we came here and our 2 older kids decided that University of South Carolina was where they wanted to extend their education, we jumped on board, and we're big Gamecock fans. I tell people we're Gamecocks by tuition because we're writing those checks every single month. But you go to football games, you get drawn into that, and it is almost like an obsession. I follow the Gamecocks. My son and my daughter are big Gamecock fans, sports fans, and love the school too.
One word to describe Channel 2.
Oh gosh, home.
Yes.
Channel 2 is my second home, and this is my second family. I spend more time probably with Carolyn and Brendan and everybody in this room than I do with my own family sometimes.
Yes,
So Channel 2 has been my home, and I couldn't think of another place to hang out for 25 years.
One word to describe Rob Fowler.
Oh gosh, how do I describe myself? I hope I'm nice. I hope I'm polite, and I hope I'm inspiring to some people. And I was inspired by people. I was inspired by some meteorologists in my past, and I hope that maybe somewhere down the road there's a future meteorologist who said, you know what, I want to do what he's doing someday, because that's exactly what I did.
When you look into your crystal ball, what do you see in the future?
Well, I just signed a new 5-year contract, so I'm here for at least 5 more years. So we plan on making Charleston our home, and have made it our home. And gosh, I hope I can work here until I retire. And I couldn't imagine doing what I do in a better city.
Yes.
I mean, we live in paradise.
Yes.
And when everybody's talking about going here for vacation, I'm like, you know what? I just as soon stay right here.
Yeah. Stay.
To me, this is a vacation. Charleston every day. When I walk out our house and look around, and when I go downtown and get to travel all over the area, I feel very, very lucky and very fortunate to live in the place that we live in.
Rob Fowler, thank you so much.
Thank
I
you,
really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You.